Hi, my name is AMMAR IRFAN bin AMINUDDIN and my metric number is 152957. So today I will demonstrate the aseptic and streaking technique. Before we start, let me explain to you what aseptic and streaking technique. Aseptic means to ensure the transferred bacteria of interest are free from contaminations. We must protect cultures, sterile media stocks and solutions from bacterial contaminations. While for streaking technique, is generally a method of isolation a pure strain from a single species of microbe, commonly bacteria. So before we start with the experiment, there are safety precautions for the experiment. The first one is to always wear a lab coat throughout the whole experiment to avoid direct contact with the organisms and to protect our clothes. And for the second precautions is to always wear gloves. Assume they are wearing gloves because there are limited supplies. Always to wear gloves throughout the whole experiment to avoid direct contact with the bacteria and infections. So the materials for the experiment, the materials that we needed for the experiments are bench spray, mixed broad culture, inoculating loop, Bunsen burner, nutrient agar, marker pen, and paper towels. First and foremost, before we start our experiment, we need to ensure that our working area are clean and sterilized. So we are going to spray with our bench spray. Spray all the working area and wipe it up with paper towels or tissue paper. This is to ensure that our working area are free or no dust or particles or unwanted organisms on the working area. The tissue or paper towels can be discarded. Next, we need to flame our Bunsen burner, as Bunsen burner are one of the crucial apparatus in this experiment, as the flame sterilize the air, the environment and our working area. For the real Bunsen burner, there are a hole besides under the Bunsen burner. We need to ensure that the hole are close to ensure that we getting orange flame, so that we can avoid from waving our hands on the Bunsen burner, which can cause injuries. So we flame it and let it aside with the orange flame. Then we proceed to our nutrient agar. So this is our nutrient agar. What we need to do with this nutrient agar on the petri dish, we need to label it. We need to flip it over and label it under the petri dish or under the plate on the edge of the plate. So we need to label our nutrient agar. So what are we going to label? We are going to label NA, which means the abbreviations of nutrient agar. And then we need to write down our initials of first and last name, which for me is AI, AMMAR IRFAN. Then we need to label or write down the date of the experiment conducted. And lastly, we need to label the organisms that we are transferring. And for this we need to label this as I'm using E. coli from the mixed culture broth, like that. So we put it aside. So we're going to perform streaking technique. So I'm going to show you streaking technique. So these are referred as the first quadrant, and these are referred as second quadrant, and these are referred as third quadrant, and this is fourth quadrant. The streaking technique method, we need to ensure that the second quadrant intersected with the first and the third quadrant. For the third quadrant, we need to ensure that it intersect with the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant, and the fourth quadrant we need to ensure that it intersect with the third quadrant. For the first and the fourth quadrant, it did not have to intersect, or it cannot intersect with each other. So this is the streaking technique that I will perform later. Before we start with our experiment, the Bunsen burner, we need to, the whole of the Bunsen burner, we need to let it open, because we want the blue flame, because so that we can see the inoculating loop are burning red for the sterilizations. So with that, we make it blue. We flame the inoculating loop on the Bunsen burner. We burn it or flame it from the stem until the tip of the inoculating loop. This is to sterilize the inoculating loop from any organisms. Once we have done, let it cool for a few seconds. And then we take the viscous broth. We open up the viscous broth bottle by using our crook hand. Flame the mouth of the bottle on the Bunsen burner, and then we take the loop. We insert the loop to take some of the colonies, and once we have done with that, we reflame the mouth of the bottle and close back the lid. We can confirm that we get the bacterial colonies, by watching the loop having the bubbles, which means we get the bacteria. And then we take our nutrient agar plate, open up the lid, and we make the first or primary line on the first quadrant. We spread it back and forth. Once we have done with that, we close back the lid and reflame the inoculating loop. We flame it from the stem to the tip of it and let it cool for a few seconds. We can know the loop is already cool or not by trying to touch in the middle of the nutrient agar. If it's not sizzle, then it means it's already cooled down. So it's already cool. We make the secondary line on the secondary quadrant. We need to do it gently. Make a line. We need to make it we need to do it gently, because the nutrient agar has a jelly surface and it tears easily. And this line, we need to ensure that the secondary line intersected with the first primary line of the first quadrant. And then we reflame it on the Bunsen burner. And let it cool for a few seconds. We rotate to the third side or the third quadrant. We open up the lid. We make the third tertiary line straight line. And then we close it back, and we reframe the inner clothing loop for our final quaternary line. Inflame it, and then we let it cool for a few seconds. And we go through our last quaternary line. Just make it line. We need to ensure that the quaternary line is intersected with the tertiary line and not intersected with the primary line. So once we have done with that, to the side, we reframe the inner clothing loop and let it cool aside. We can see the streaking lines of the technique by holding it up onto the light, and we have to send this for incubations, and we need to ensure that the petri dish of the plate or the plate are upside down, and this is because we need to avoid condensation, as the droplets of the water from the condensations can cause contaminations. So we finish with our experiment. Now we sterilize the inner clothing loop for the last time to ensure there's no organisms or no particles on the inner clothing loop, bacteria. Once we have done, we flame it from the stem to the tip. We let it cool side, and then we close the Bunsen burner. But before we close, we need to ensure that the hole on the Bunsen burner is closed, so that we get the orange flame, and we can ensure that the flame is already closed. So we tap off the gas and ensure there are no gas sounds or any gas smell. After that, we can put aside the Bunsen burner. Once we have done with our work, we need to ensure our working area is clean and sterilized again. So we are going to spray our working area with the bench spray. And wipe it out to ensure no dust, no particles or unwanted organisms on the working area, to ensure it's clean and sterilized. So the paper towels can be discarded. So that's all from me. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. Thank you.